time here, any more time with our music because we've got a huge, awesome call for you tonight. So um, welcome to our call. I am so excited to have Nikki Cotton as our guest tonight. I have had the pleasure of, getting to know her through different events and different things, and it's been amazing. She and her husband they're two of the top leaders in our company. They're 100 Club National Marketing Directors. And instead of reading any sort of bio about her, you're just going to get all you need from her energy and her sharing her own story. So, Nikki, thank you so much for blessing us with your time tonight. And I'm just going to turn it over to you and give us what you got.
Great. I'm going to give you what I got. I forgot to ask you, Allie, how long is this call?
It's 30 minutes.
Perfect. Okay, that's what I kind of thought. None of us can do anything over 30 minutes anymore in our lives, no matter what it is. 30 minutes is the deal, right? Anything for 30 minutes. So I'm really excited to be here. There's a couple of reasons that, I look at all of your faces and I think about the fact that, Chris and I started with this company 28 years ago. And the friendships, we're going to ignore that. The friendships and the journey, what it's created in our life over 25 years, if you can stick it out for that long, it's the stupidest landline ever. I don't know how to stop. Stop. There's a stop button on it. So, but I really do. I think about what's in your future. At the last, one of the last spring retreats, the leadership retreats, and we were all standing around in the pool. AJ has spent a lot of time, I think, talking to you in the pool and looking around at all the new NMDs and thinking, what's in your future? If you hang out here long enough, this community, if you think you have family now, imagine 28 years down the road, those same people you started with are still your friends, and you're just getting old with them, and it's amazing. And I know you don't think like that, but I look back and I have this wish for all of you to experience what Chris and I have been able to experience over the years. So, we did start with this company. We were in our early 40s. We had a 1-year-old and a 4-year-old, and I'll tell you, before this lifestyle, we owned our own construction company, and we very on purpose started a company thinking if we owned our own company, we would own our own time. That was really what was in our head. We didn't yet have children, but we imagined that when we did, we wanted to be those parents that we'd seen out there that had time to be with their kids, that had time to travel. Chris and I met in South America, so we're really travelers at heart. And we wanted to be able to take our kids with us around the world. And we thought, okay, so we'll start our own business and we'll be able to do all that. I don't know what planet we were on when we put that thought together, but certainly not this one. And after a few years, Chris was working 16 hours a day. We had our girls, both of them were in daycare, something I never wanted to do. I know a lot of parents like working outside the home and having their kids in daycare, and there's no judgment around that. I just didn't want to do that. And we were doing it. And it was not only were we doing it, it got to the place where, I know at the end of the Freedom Revolution, the launch call, it talks about having daddy and mommy care instead of daycare. And I can tell you there was a day where I got out of work early, and I was so excited because I was going to be able to pick up the girls early. And we had them in a couple different daycare places because this one only took on this day, and this one only took on that day. And I loved those places, and I wasn't willing to put them in a mediocre place for 5 days. So I got in my car and I went to the wrong daycare. And now I'm going to be late to the other one. And I am crying because I can see my daughter sitting in that little sort of darkened room with one person, knowing they'd gotten forgotten. And I'm speeding, and I got pulled over by a cop. And now I'm sobbing, and he goes, "What's wrong? I'm late for picking my kids up at daycare." He has no idea what it feels like to be the mom who doesn't have control of time to be with her kids. And so at one point in our business, we'd asked ourselves, if this business made us $1 million, would we stick with it? And we said, no way, but we had no idea what else to do. And Chris came up with this incredibly crazy idea to do a network marketing franchise. And I thought, no way. It's like, no way, not doing it. But he did his due diligence, and he went to 5 weekends in a row. He went and checked it out. he finally got me to come to a meeting. I think my aura, if any of you even know what that is, the aura, whatever around you, they put this really nice woman to sit by me because they thought it would make me nicer. She ended up having to move. I am sure that I was so intensely not wanting to do this that I'm sure that my aura not only was black, but it was probably stinky. I mean, seriously not okay. And what I saw in that meeting, and here's really the importance, you guys, of building for events and getting people there. I saw what I considered a very average woman stand up, not a great hairdo, not great clothes. She worked at the post office. There was nothing extraordinary about her. And she simply said, I'm making $2,000 a month. And what I heard was we could feed our kids doing this while we found real jobs. Because I was really security driven. I needed the insurance. I needed to know that we were going to be taken care of. And the worst case scenario is I would become a bank teller. Not that there's anything wrong with being a bank teller, but it wasn't something that I viewed as very difficult. I'd talk to people, I'd go home, and I wouldn't have to think about anything else. Chris could be a fireman because he loves to recreate. He would be off and on working, and I thought I pictured the perfect life. Bank teller, fireman. And thank God, Chris was persistent, and I heard this woman speak. And so the journey was to make a couple $1,000s a month and then find real jobs. And I just have to fast forward 25 years later. This has been our unreal job, for 28 years, basically. So it has been an absolutely stunning journey with all the ups and downs that you can imagine, and everything is worth it. I even had to do some bookkeeping today. I hate bookkeeping, but in my head, I'm thinking about all the things, the gifts that this gives back to me is worth all of those little pieces that I don't necessarily want to do. So I want to talk about something that we've really worked on with our team. And you know how in Juice Plus we talk about having, really powerful meals, whether it's a shake with lots of spinach and kale and chia seeds in it. It's like a really powerful meal, right? So we're with a group of people that are very conscious about feeding our body powerful meals. Well, I think it's really important to really be feeding ourselves powerful meals in the terms of our business, not just in our body. And I want to talk about that with you. And we actually have an acronym. The word is MEALS, MEALS. And I'm going to talk about each of those pieces because those MEALS, those 5 pieces, I think really fill in all of the gaps that you need to be working on in your business. So here's what we're going to look at. Meals. The M for meals is your mindset. And I know all of you, we talk about mindset a lot, but are you catching yourself in your own mindset on a daily basis? What do you wake up and what's the first thought that comes out of you when you wake up? What is your mindset setting for the day? One of the things, how many times do you hear people say, I don't want to be involved with Juice Plus because I don't want to do sales? If that's what people are saying, or you're even thinking that as a new person, then you really don't know what we do. The mindset of what we do is so different than sales. What we are about is educating and sharing and gifting. One of my teammates just did a great presentation. She actually wrapped up this big box and she put it on somebody's table in front of her and said, do you want this gift? And I think she had it worked out. The person said, no, not really. And she took the gift and put it on another person's desk until somebody said, I want the gift. That's all we're doing is we are offering a gift. And when you can get your perception to believe and see that and shift your mindset around that, everything will change. So our job is to help our new people understand that we do something very different than sell. The other thing that we've really worked on with our team is something that we call future vision. Trying not to think about and bringing the past forward. Leave the past behind and be focusing on future vision. What you want it to look like, what you want your life to look like, what you want your call, the next call you do to look like. So I really believe that your mindset is a muscle. So you might be the kind of person that does do a lot of negative self-talk. And how many times are you aware of saying, God, that was such a stupid thing I just did, or I'm sure that, I'm such a fraud. I do this, but I tell people to do this, but I actually do that. Whatever it is that you're constantly feeding yourself creates the mindset, which creates your perception, which doesn't help you see and have future vision. So having future vision, some ways to have future vision, number one is to have great curiosity. And for me, my teammate call me, Curious George. I ask everything. So like, Heidi, I see you're wearing glasses. So where did you get those glasses? Are they new glasses? Do they fit well? How long have you been wearing the glasses? What kind of prescription do you have in those glasses? Do you use them for reading? Do you use them for long distance? I could ask 50 questions to Heidi right now about her glasses and seriously, be genuinely curious. How did you decide to get those glasses? I mean, if you can start shifting, and curiosity is a muscle. I have a distributor on my team that told me she had a conversation with a best friend, and the best friend said, I'm having a rough day. And I said to my distributor, oh my gosh, did you ask her what was going on? And she said, oh no, I would never have done that. I said, what? She's your really good friend. She said, in our family, we were taught not to ask personal questions. So you might come from a family like that. I came from a family that has no filter. They ask everything and anything and things they shouldn't be asking. So I really learned with my family about curiosity. So if you're finding you're not, my suggestion is to you is when you're talking to anybody, I don't care if you're your husband or whatever, and you're in a conversation, here's my suggestion. No matter what they say, you got to come back with a question. And then they say something, and your next assignment is no matter what they say, ask another question. See if you can ask 3 questions in a row before you finish your conversation. And I'm going to tell you, you will start to develop the muscle of curiosity. So, and the final piece about mindset is embracing other people's wins. Now, I know there have been times, years past, where I've gone to conference and I've seen people that are just moving faster than I am. They came in after I came in, and it was hard for me to not leave conference instead of being excited about my own possibility, but sort of depressed. And I don't know if you ever have ever experienced that or have teammates that do, but if you can begin to think of embracing other people's wins as a way to raise your energy level about wins, because the more wins you hear about, like wins beget wins. So learn how to get excited and embrace other people's wins, because I promise you, when you do, more will be coming to you because your energy is going to be changing, which leads us to E, which is energy. So mindset, energy is the second part of meals. And I think that I love what Brendan Bouchard says. He asks the question, before you open the door, before you come to an event, before you pick up the phone, who are you going to be and what energy are you going to bring to that situation? And Chris always says, if you go to a party or an event that's either boring or has low energy, all it is simply is the energy you're not bringing. So how do you get to bring the energy? Which brings you to the point of how do you generate energy? Because we need to learn how to generate our own energy. And again, I know that Tony Robbins talks a lot about generating your own energy, whether it's putting on music. We'll do one right now. But everybody has to unmute themselves, and everybody has to be willing to play for 5 seconds. So if everybody, maybe you can unmute everybody quickly and then remute everybody, Allie. Is that possible?
Christy has control, but she should be able to.
Okay, so Christy, if you can unmute everybody, because it's going to take everybody to do this.
All participants are unmuted, or it says it does, but I don't know.
Okay.
Most of them.
So for those of you, it looks like a couple of you. So what I want you all to do is I want you to copy me just for 3 seconds, and then I want you to see how it feels. I'm going to stand up. You can stand up too. You can stand up if you want to. And this is what you're going to do. Just for 3 seconds. Are you ready? And join me anytime you want. Okay? 1, 2, 3. After you've done that, has anything shifted for any of you? Has the call shifted? Your faces all have. Whatever it is that takes you to generate a different kind of energy, putting on great music, doing this, doing the Wonder Woman pose, which I know that I think you need to do it for 2 minutes to actually actually change your endorphins. We have the ability to generate our own energy, and everything is energy. And that's what makes you leave. How many of you have been to conference, and when you leave, you get more customers easier than you did before you went to conference? You talk to more people in the airport. Yeah, we all do. It's the energy that you're taking, and you've collected it. It's like in your body, you can disperse it now. So if you're not at a conference, if you're not doing something, find a way to pour energy into yourself so that you can really infect other people. I always love what Jay Martin says. He says, you're not obsessed with things. He says you have to be plumb abscessed. And you know, an abscess is an infection. Now, we don't want to have a bad infection, but when you are infected with our Juice Plus virus and the bubble that we live in, it's much more possible to make yourself contagious. You know, that's really what you want to do around energy. A is activity. So the first thing that you want to ask yourself is, what are the high payoff activities? And if anybody wants to put on the chat right now what you think is a high payoff activity, I'm going to take a look and just type a few words. Just what do you think a high payoff activity is? Write it down, like 3 words. Anybody? Events. What else? Talking to people, 3-way calls. All right. So the number one most powerful thing that you can do, the most highest payest activity, you know what I'm saying? Highest payoff activity. Oh my gosh, I'm getting way too excited. See, I generated way too much energy. It's like I've had 10 cups of coffee now. So the high payoff activity is talking to people. That's the first one. What's the second most powerful that you can do? I'll tell you so I don't have to trick you. It's talking to people. And the third high payoff activity, talking to people, inviting them to events, getting them on a 3-way call, asking if you can share a video with them. You've got to open your mouth or text or email, but it's communicating with people. That's the number 1, 2, 3 highest paying activities. We know that events is the done deal. We know that. But in order to get somebody to do an event, what do you got to do? You've got to talk to them. You've got to get them there. You've got to do the invitation. So the other question about activity is, are you committed to what you're doing, or are you attached? So there's a difference between being committed and being attached to an outcome. And that's what oftentimes stops us from the activity. We are so attached to the outcome that oftentimes it paralyzes and freezes us. So what I would love to offer you is the difference between commitment and attachment. In attachment, you have a goal set and you will do anything you want to get there at the expense of your own health, at the expense of your family. But if you're committed to the journey, it looks totally different. Totally different. It comes from a different place. If you're attached to an outcome and it doesn't work, what happens? You quit. But if you're committed to the journey, there's nothing to quit. You're on the journey. You're moving step by step by step by step. So I'm going to offer you is to take a look at the difference. Are you attached to getting to sales coordinator, or are you committed to the journey along the way? Because they are very different things. And the final piece is, if you think that you're committed to this journey of getting to whatever that place is, how do you know how do you know what would it look like in your life? How would it show up? And it shows up in your calendar. If you're showing lots of activity in your calendar, I would then say, yep, you're committed to doing this. If you have very little activity in your calendar, then you better take a look at what your goals are or what you're looking forward to, because it may need some readjustment. Maybe you don't really want it that bad. You know, the other day I talked to somebody about getting to NMD, and I said, would you rather be NMD right now or just be making $10,000 a month? Like, what is it? It was a really interesting question, and she didn't really have an answer right away. And it was really interesting because money right now is super important to her family and her life. And what she realized is that title was really important to her. And I think when we focus on the title rather than the journey of where we're going and who we're becoming, shifts drastically. So be clear of what it is that you're moving toward, because if you would rather, you know, for example, make more money than be an MD, then your structure may not be that important, but your volume may be. So be really clear about what it is that you're looking forward to. And that will then shift the activity on your calendar, I think. I hope this is making sense. L in meals. L is for language. And what I know beyond a shadow of a doubt, that your word creates your world. And even if we look at foreign languages, it's really interesting. In Spanish, there's just one phrase where when you say in Spanish, se me olvidó, which means in English, I forgot. But if you translate it exactly how it is in Spanish, it actually translates to it was forgotten to me, which leaves you with very little responsibility. And I've had lots of conversation with Spanish-speaking people about what it looks like in terms of responsibility and commitment in their culture versus our culture. Theirs is much more loose, much more forgiving. Oh, it was forgotten to me. Oh, that's okay, as opposed to taking it on for yourself. It creates your culture. I want to be really clear on that. And a couple things that we've done on our team, and it's really been fun because we've caught each other in our new language, reverting to our old language. And it's not as though we say, you just said so-and-so. It's not that. But it's like an aha moment. It's like, I always want to stand up straight, and my posture is like, So it's like I always want my husband to do the buzzword, like redwood tree. Like I want to be tall like a redwood tree. I don't want him to come smack me on the back and say, you're not standing up straight. That is not fun. But if he whispers in my ear, redwood tree, it's like, yeah, I want to be like that. So I think that's how important language is, how it's received, how it's given. So there's some things. How many of you use the expression, I've been dripping on that woman for 2 years and she finally has come on board? Anybody use the expression, I've been dripping on? Yeah, we've been using that one for years. No more. Because here's the deal. What happens when you have a dripping faucet? It's nagging. It's annoying. Nobody wants a dripping faucet. Chris says it's a water torture. Like dripping, not so good. But think about this. Hey, you guys, I have been shining on this woman for the last 2 years, and she finally said yes to me. So on our team, we only use the word shining on or loving on. Those are two. And we know when we say we've been shining on, and every time I hear it, I get this picture of her just gifting love to this person until finally she had enough information to be attracted to come on board. The other word that we like to use a lot is we've attracted a new customer rather than getting a new customer. We've attracted a new team member rather than getting a new team member. And I think that's starting to be more apparent culture-wide. I'm hearing that from a lot of you, or I inspired somebody new to join my team. It's really beautiful rather than I got somebody to join my team. So, and what does that do? The person that you're talking about doesn't hear you. They don't hear you say, I inspired Betty to join my team, but your teammates do. And you hear it. And every time you hear the word, I've inspired somebody, how do you think that lifts you up specifically? Totally different than getting somebody. The other one that's a little bit harder to do, but you know how you always hear the expression, I closed the deal? Every time I hear I closed the deal, I think about a car salesman. I hear people like, I closed the deal, I got this great new rep, and she's whatever. So instead of closing the deal, when we have somebody sign up as a rep on our team, you hear the expression, I opened the door for somebody to get started again. I opened the door, we inspired a new team member. Because think about this, when somebody signs up as a customer, isn't there a door opening for possibility of transformation? And the door opens the same way when you attract a new teammate. The door is open for all kinds of changes. You are not closing the door and sealing the deal. It's a whole different feeling. Some other ones is that we share instead of sell. I think most of you know that. And then for our team, we just happen to never use the word business. It's the movement. Come take a look at our movement. Come take a look at our mission. We rarely use the word business. Depending on the person I'm talking to, though. If I'm talking to a businessman or businesswoman who really values that word, I am going to use the word business. So it's, again, paying attention to the energy and who they are for you in that moment. And then the other thing is, of course, and I think all of you probably know this, connection calls not three-way calls. We're doing connection calls because I think the most important part of our business is connecting. And then the final thing is that when we are talking to somebody about possibly joining the mission, it's an exploration call. So just some fun things that I think just have really shifted our energy of our whole team. The final one is S, which stands for lots of things. Number one, it stands for skills. And of course, we love the 7 skills in Go Pro. I love the idea is, do you know what the actual 7 skills are? I mean, and can you say them in order? And if you don't know what they are, it's likely that there's 1 or 2 of those skills that you actually need to go back and study to become a master of. Because when you master something, what happens? It's like Sue Burdick said at the regional the other day, if I were to call you up at 3 a.m. in the morning and you woke up and I said, tell me your story, could you spit it out in 1 minute at 3 a.m. in the morning? And that's what mastering those skills are all about. So prospecting, inviting, not so much follow-up, presenting, which of course we zip our lips on presenting, right? Because we're letting the videos do the work. We call them on our team, and this is a hard one, is that follow-up. I know a lot of people don't like follow-up, and Allie, your training on it is so stunning. It really shifts the energy around that. But what we call follow-up calls on ours is empowerment calls. I'm doing a bunch of empowerment calls today. And I'm going to expose people to, as this is my 3rd exposure with this person. We've tried to eliminate the follow-up calls only because so many people are freaked out by them that they almost have the FU feeling about them. So we've transitioned to empowerment calls because it just feels so good. That's a hard one to shift, by the way. And then the other thing for S is not only skills, but stay connected. That's the most important thing. You know, when you see people drifting off on your team and not doing Vox or not showing up at events, as soon as that's happening and that connection starts to widen, you're going to lose them. This business, more than anything I've ever done in my life, is about connection. So stay connected, stay in the room, stay at events. So those are just people that, things that we've really worked on. And that really sums it up. Having powerful meals, staying in the energy of that on a day-to-day basis, waking up and seeing what are the meals I've prepared for my business today, and how am I going to prepare them? How am I going to work them through? And at the end of the day, am I going to feel full and fulfilled? It's 5:29. Do you have any questions? Woo!
I just want to thank you, Nikki, for gifting us with your time and your powerful meals and sharing with us tonight. I know you're a very busy woman, you and Chris both. If anybody has a quick question and you want to unmute yourself, Nikki has said she would answer some questions.
Absolutely. I have more time. I don't know what your time is like, but I've got a few minutes. So if you've got any questions, I'm happy to answer about anything. Well, not anything. Most anything.
Does anybody have anything? I think we're getting a bunch of thank yous. If you want to unmute yourself and thank Nikki for her time, that's okay too.
Yeah, fantastic call. Very high energy. So thank you, Nikki. We love you.
Yeah, well, it was your energy toward me that just did it. So great. Great to be here. Allie, and I forgot to say at the beginning of this call, by the way, I have learned so much from so many of you on the team. Like I said, I spent, I don't know how long in the pool with AJ. I grilled Allie at breakfast one morning at our retreat. I've spent time with you, Heidi. And it's, the give and take of this business is really stunning. So I just want to make sure that I thank all of you.
Well, we really appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you. Really love the acronym, the meals. That's excellent.
Good. Enjoy.
It was great, Nikki. Thank you so much. We love you. We can't wait to see you in Tampa.
I will be there. Woo-hoo.
Party. All right, everybody have a great night.
Good night, everybody.